I used to race on the same team as PJ on Celtic Racing.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's super cool. I'm very aware who those guys are.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's back in the day now, though. That's like, yeah. I'm here. I'm doing undergrad at in Oxford here, and when I tell people that, literally 12 years ago I was racing bikes, they look at me like, "Well, how fucking old are you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm 34, so it's like a lifetime ago."
Yeah.
Oh man, must have been a time though. That's something I hope
Oh
to be
yeah.
at some point.
Honestly,
Yeah,
the more I travel in the world, the more I realize it's a small place.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Seems like a big place, but it really, like, when you start to, meet up with people and you find you've got things in common, you've done the same things, you've been the same places, you know the same people. It's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Like I was doing some work for one of the GT3 teams, but before that, in my undergrad, I was trying really hard to get into every single team, and it's a tough network to crack. I mean, no one's going to hire you because everybody else is trying to get in. But funny, hey,
I'm still trying to crack it.
Oh, mate. But funny story. Like I was just chatting to one of my mates, who also kind of mixed race guy back from back home, who's really good, half Zimbabwe, fully Zimbabwean guy, Axel Jeffries. And then me and him used to race karts, and we were really, really close and whatnot. He eventually, I don't know, he took his racing to Dubai. Managed to make it for himself, and he's racing most of the GT3 series, and did a lot around Europe and stuff. And I just sent him a message. I'm like, good luck on the weekend, mate.
Axel Jeffries.
Yeah.
Does he race for Kessel?
Yeah.
I met him.
Yeah, so he was doing a lot of work. I don't know exactly which team he's been mainly with, but he's with Conrad. He's in the Lambo for the VLNs and all that stuff.
Yeah. He's racing GT Open, at least some part. Yeah. I met him in Monza a few weeks ago.
Oh, mad.
Yeah.
Oh, top bloke. But yeah, I mean, me and him raced cars back home, and we're really close. Very close. Like our fathers are very close as well. So much respect for his dad every time I see him. But crazy story. Like I was wishing him good luck for the VLN the one time, and he's like, "Oh, good man. What are you up to these days?" I'm like, studying motorsport engineering on the side. Trying to crack it in the market here. He's like, "Have you looked at doing some work experience?" I'm like, "That's basically what I'm trying to do now." I was like, "Oh, I've got a friend who owns a GT3 team in like in the UK. Like you should chat to him." I'm like, "Which one?" He's like, "Oh, 2Cs." I'm like, "Dude, I've been trying to get in." He's like, "No, he's my mate. I'll send him a WhatsApp message and get you involved." And true to his word, like sent him a WhatsApp message. 2 days later, the guy told me, "Now you can come to the factory, you can do some side work for us." And
yeah,
I mean, it ended up with me doing some systems and data engineering with them for the last 2 races of last year, and one of the important ones was the Bahrain 24. 12-hour race for them. But I mean, again, it's about context. Like, I mean, I'm here, trying to make it into a network which I don't really have much contact with. Then here, this guy that just across the road knows someone here.
Yeah. And therein lays the problem, man.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, we'll get into that. Let me start the meeting officially. So I explained to you guys a little bit earlier. I have this platform, Wavy Dynamics, is growing, and Black History Month, so it seemed to be appropriate to do a little something. So I've made contact with you guys over the months, and we've had just chit chat here and there, so we're aware about each other. And I thought it would just be nice to bring you all together, introduce you to each other, and start to kind of put pieces in the puzzle together. So here we are. There was, as I was explaining, there was supposed to be another 3 of us, but it's organizing people, organizing times and days, and fitting around schedules was not so easy. But here we are, and maybe it'll be the start of a regular or semi-regular thing. I don't know. But why don't you all introduce yourselves? So Shao, you're motorsport engineering. You're a postgraduate now?
Well, no. So I'm actually, I graduated last year. Was it so September 2020.
Mhm.
So I did my undergrad in South Africa, mechanical engineering. I worked for 3 years, electronic explosive company, but motorsport was my passion. Came to the UK, did my masters in motorsport because that's always something I needed to do, and realized to get into motorsport in this country, you need kind of a qualification that's recognized. So did the undergrad at Brooks. Yeah, it was really good. That's where I met Antoine. Did try to get involved with Formula Student because that's, I think, one of the most important things if you a student trying to get into motorsport is to get that experience.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then yes, my goal was to work for one of the top teams in F1, and that's where I am today. I'm a product engineer at Mercedes High Performance Powertrains. So in the F1 division, so basically designing and playing around with the components that go into the back of Lewis's car, which is something I still cannot fathom today, and trying to do my best.
Wicked. And you're from where originally?
From South Africa.
South Africa. Okay, wicked. Cool. Okay, Samuel, why don't you introduce yourself? So, and what I know so far, you're, as you were saying earlier, you're in Missouri. You work, or so you're studying a motorsport degree with the NMA, which is an English engineering school. Anything else to add to build on that?
Other than that, yep, like John said, currently studying for motorsports engineering bachelor's degree. I do plan on getting a master's degree as well in the same field. Goals: work for a GT team, preferably Porsche. I've always been a long-standing Porsche fan, and only other important things about me is I pretty much live and breathe race cars. So that's all I do. That's my biggest passion.
It's a good start. Cool. Antoine, so in the communications we've had, I think you're Oxford Brookes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're saying
so
you're doing an undergrad in mechanical engineering?
Motorsports.
Okay. And where are you from? Because I hear an accent, but I never got around to asking you where.
I'm from Bermuda. So Bermuda Triangle, tiny little island, middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Not
so
too many of us around.
Sorry?
So not too many Bermudians around. It's a tiny country.
Yeah, my dad is from St. Vincent, and that, again, a tiny little country. It's got like 100,000 people that live there, little island, and it seems everywhere I go, there are Vincentians. Like I don't quite know. It seems like there's a bigger population of Vincentians outside of the islands than there are within.
That's like Bermuda as well. Like we're 60,000 people, but anywhere you go, you're gonna find a Bermudian somewhere somehow.
Yeah,
You just pop up.
yeah.
We're like a rat. You can't get rid of us.
Okay, cool. Jordan, are you here now? Yeah.
Yes. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank goodness.
So thankfully you didn't miss much. We were just chit chatting, but good. I'm glad you got your audio.
Okay.
So
That's all right.
yeah, we're just doing some introductions, just trying to get an idea of where everyone's from, what they've been doing, where they live. So go ahead. Man.
Okay. All right. So yeah, my name's Jordan. Live in a town called Banbury, which is just outside of Oxford. So but it's in a really good area in terms of motorsport because you've got Formula One teams pretty much most of them around the area, so that's good. Graduated from university 2 years ago, got a bachelor's in motorsport engineering. And then after I graduated, I've just been working at during the pandemic, when that started, I got a job at a company called SRD Engineering, which is it's basically just a machine shop. So we just make parts, and I'm on the like CNC lathes. So it's just making parts for customers. Most of the customers are Formula One teams, but it's kind of boring because you're making a part. Say, for example, it takes 5 minutes to make a part, and the card's for like 100 parts. You've got 500 minutes, and you're just going to be standing in front of a machine, pressing go. It's pretty boring, but it's at least engineering related. It's not what I want to do, of course, because my goal is to be working for a motorsport team trackside as like a data engineer or a race engineer. That's the end goal for me, pretty much.
Okay, well, it's a good start, and I like the knowledge you'll get there is useful. Like, we all need to understand how parts are made, the constraints you have to line within, and that kind of thing. So yeah, congratulations either way. But Antoine, you're involved with the Formula One team, right?
Yeah, so I'm doing a work placement for Alpine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing 1-year placement in the electronics integration. So mostly doing design work for the hardware, the electronic components.
Okay.
So far,
What,
so good.
like PCB kind of stuff, or?
Well, for me, it's more PCB housings, junction boxes, that sort of thing. So literally the hardware connecting up to the electronic components.
Yeah.
But my interest is in electronics. So I did Formula student, and I was the high voltage lead for the team last year. And so we did design some PCBs, and that's actually where I want to get back to. But for now, I got a job doing CAD work. I can do that, but I do it in conjunction with the guys who do the hardware design. So I can actually, I'm picking up quite a bit from them as well. So yeah, it's a really good spot.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Congrats on that one. So I guess the next thing would be good to understand from you guys. What are you what are the areas or what are the engineering disciplines within motorsport that you're really quite passionate about? Like, what are the most exciting ones for you? Starting with whoever, Shao.
Yeah, so it's a tricky one. I mean, I started when I was young racing karts, trying to make my way up through the ranks. Got to having a test in Formula BMW, and I was so sure I was going to be the next Lewis, until the budget thing and funding issues became real issues, and realized it's not always feasible. And for me, it was, and motorsport is my passion. How do I make myself successful in this industry? I want to be in this industry. I want to stay here. I want to be recognized, or be in a position where people look up to you and kind of to want to be like you. So you got to look at your next options. You're not going to be Lewis. What are the other options? What are play to your strengths? And engineering was always good for me, and started in kind of mechanical engineering and can do design and CAD and stuff. But I want to be in Bono's seat. I'd like to be one of the first African or persons of color on that F1 pit wall, making those calls. It's not necessarily the limelight that the driver, but it's someone that is seen, and I want to get there with merit, not just having been handed the position. So being a race engineer, something I'd love to do, but is what I've learned in this last year, and I guess going through Brooks and stuff, is that there's a progression to get there. You're not going to be the race engineer from day one. You have to, especially in an industry like Formula One, there's a hierarchy. There's so much you need to learn before you get there. If you look at race engineers in GT3, that's something that's attainable. You can get there, but there's a lot of work that goes into that. And so it's that's essentially I'd like to get there, but right now I'm riding on my strengths, which are mechanical design and engineering, and designing the pistons and stuff that are going into the back and on the side, trying to pick up any performance works, which is, I think, a great way to start moving into that division.
Yeah, cool. Agreed. Samuel, how about you? We did touch on that earlier, didn't you? You want to get to race engineering as well?
Yeah, I mean, I would love trackside engineering. There's a few other spots where I would say I'm more or just as a beginning, I started a Formula student at the school I was going to before NMA. I was an aerodynamics engineer, and had a ton of fun designing. I designed the rear wing for the car, and they actually did really well at competition last year with that part. But I noticed through reading, getting into car journalism, like reading a lot of the stuff from old engineers, and I actually happen to read up a lot on Gavin Kershaw. He's an engineer, works for Lotus, Factory Lotus. And basically the reason that all their cars handle the way they do. And so I got really into vehicle dynamics, and in that state, that's probably where I'd want to go, no matter which team or kind of motorsport discipline I ended up in, is vehicle dynamics.
Okay, cool. Yeah, vehicle dynamics and aero they're my two favorite areas as well. So those, as I've kind of spent more time in motorsport, they're my two strengths, I would say, and the areas that I want to get most involved in. So yeah, cool. And then Antoine, you said a little bit earlier you want to get into the PCB side of things. Is that the only areas you're interested in, like power electronics? Is that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say just PCBs, basically anything electronics. So I am most particularly keen on electric vehicles in general.
Sorry, can I stop you? Because I've just seeing this message. We've got less than a minute.
Yeah.
If I restart this room, is everyone cool to join back in?
Yeah.
So yeah, give it 2 minutes and join on the same link. It should work.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, cool. Nice
Cool.
one.
Nice one.
Just
We all used to use.
Yeah. Okay. So we're all back. Thanks for everyone coming. Antoine, we were just getting into your passions in motorsport, though, yeah. So you're working in electronics integration at the moment, but yeah, tell us a bit more.
Yeah, so electronics integration, electronics are my general interest. I really would love to. For me, honestly, working in Formula One wasn't my real top priority when I left Bermuda. It was mostly just get myself in a position where I can work on electric vehicles in the future. So obviously I'm a bike guy, so I've always been very interested in seeing where electric bikes are going. So if I do find myself trackside, it will more likely be with two-wheel team rather than four. But in the meantime, I wanted to pick up the skills and build a CV that would have given me the opportunity to move over. So yeah, anything electronic, I'm basically interested in, particularly high voltage. I like things to go boom. That's my biggest interest right now. But then outside of that, I'm hoping to do my final year project. Maybe something involving controls as well. So
controls is a really controls is only going to become more and more relevant, I think.
Yeah, and it goes hand in hand with electronics, so they kind of work pretty well.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. That's different. So I never really got into the electronic side too much. I mean, I know a lot of the basics, but yeah, it's still somewhat of a mystery. And it's
Same here.
yeah, it's just an area that I never really chose to spend time learning. You know what I mean? For me, there were others that I preferred. But
I could say the same with Arrow, to be honest. I think Arrow is black magic.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's where the element of a team comes in, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So how about you, Jordan? What are your favorite areas in engineering, motorsport?
In motorsport, it has to be aerodynamics.
Yeah.
And vehicle dynamics. Because that just whole genre of the area of engineering, it's very complex, and it's just a lot of things you have to know, but it's also very, very cool because you actually see it being applied, in real life. If your aerodynamics, if your aerodynamics is just not good, then you'll see it in the performance of the car. Same with the vehicle dynamics as well, suspension, geometry. That kind of field is what I like about motorsport.
Yeah.
Engineering-wise, I just like designing as well. Designing, just making a part on a computer in CAD, and then it being made, and then you see it, and it's right there in your eyes.
Yeah.
Pretty much the only reason why like engineering, because it's just you have an idea and then you actually see it being put to life and you see it do all these extraordinary things. It's I think that's very, very cool. So being a designer is also on my list of things that I'd like to try and accomplish as well.
Okay.
Because now I'm doing the manufacturing side, so now I think that I can use that knowledge to hopefully get into a design position maybe in the future and use that because I know how the parts are being made and stuff. So because we get some jobs that are really, especially Formula One jobs, super tight tolerant, like 10 micron tolerances.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're just looking at the job and you're just like, it's going to be a struggle. And like, if I was a designer, I do this or this. And some designers don't know how parts are made or how difficult it is to make them sometimes. Or so yeah, but that's pretty much where my interest is in terms of engineering and motorsport as well.
See, I like that because that gives you like the insight you have is something not a lot of designers will have. Like designers will have been at the end of the final phases in manufacture. You know what I mean? So I like that.
It's super important.
Manufacture. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are you guys' favorite things outside of engineering? Like what do you like to do as hobbies, as fun? You know what I mean? Talk to me.
I guess I can go first on this one. My favorite outside of engineering is it's actually almost like an exact 50-50 split between music. I love listening to music. I love breaking down all the patterns and kind of the more technical side behind it, and then also rugby. I started playing rugby in my final year of high school.
Rugby. Damn. Okay.
Yes, man.
I couldn't get enough. I played football, American football, all my life since I was about 9 years old. And started rugby at 18. Some guys in my high school convinced me to go to a practice with them one day. And other than maybe being busy with work or school, I haven't missed anything since. So yeah.
Brilliant. I used to play rugby as well. I used to be a left wing because I was always.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were all wingers. They always put black guys in the wing. It happens.
I think we're all wings.
Exactly. No, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
I like right wing, but yeah, man.
And obviously, being in South Africa, that's your national sport, no?
That's in our blood, man.
I'm about to say, yeah.
What position did you play, Shao?
Right wing.
You're a wing too. Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty much all wings, isn't it?
I was about to say, that's all they ever put us.
But we had the speed and the athleticism, so it was kind of makes sense.
That's really interesting, man.
Yeah, that's nice, especially in America. You don't really.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's growing. We just started. It's like the intra-American league. It's called the MLR, Major League Rugby. So we now have our own kind of American professional league, but we get a lot of like international players. So we've had like I don't know, I'm gonna forget names, but I know we've had some New Zealanders play for our teams. I know Brian Habana, the legendary South African wing. I think he's gonna play a year or two in the league. They're just gonna get those names of people in, so we get the community together. But it's growing. It's growing really fast, actually.
That's really awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, rugby's always been like around me, I guess. So I played it at school from age 14 to about 18, 19 or something. So I didn't have a super long career, but two of my closest friends when I was growing up eventually ended up playing for professional. So I don't know if you know any of the English teams, but the Harlequins and another friend I had started in the Saracens.
Yep.
So yeah, I ended up living with them as well. So it's the rugby culture is an interesting one. I don't know how much you get that in America, but
like I said, I mean, when we get all the international guys, like even the men's team I kind of play for now, we get a few international guys, and they bring the culture with them. So we love to kind of share in that and join in that, and as best we can, we don't really. We've Americanized, of course, as we do all things. But as best we can, we try to stick to legit, rugby route. And yeah, everyone that's in rugby, it's not like other sports. A lot of people can get a little over competitive. Rugby is one of the few sports in America where, I mean, we're all just as competitive as you would be for anything else. But after a rugby game, we can go and like have beers and with the other team. There's no like hate or real animosity. It's all a big party, and we all love it.
Yeah, that's how it should be, man. So, Chow, I can feel that rugby's a big theme in your
Oh man, it gets my
Yeah,
in there,
exactly.
and I mean, I think rugby coming from South Africa, yeah, it's in your blood. I mean, it's a thing, pastime you do with like your mates on the weekend, go and play some touch rugby, or with mates it becomes half touch because you want to get some frustrations out
It
of
never
it. But
stays touch.
yeah, and it's all good fun. It's something I do miss once I've come here to the UK, is still trying to find where I can get that. I find a few clubs which I might go look into, but my biggest thing at the moment is after I stopped racing, I've always needed to be competitive or something. I started getting into CrossFit, and to get better at CrossFit, I had an Olympic weightlifting coach, like proper coach, and got more into Olympic weightlifting, which is what I basically do, like I was saying, 4 or 5 times a week now. But part of that, I actually got into coaching of CrossFit and weightlifting, and I really, really enjoy that. I think, when I was young, I was a very shy person. Didn't really like people, hence why I'm an engineer. But doing
man, don't worry about it.
like to deal with things that don't talk back. But yeah, no, coaching was a really nice way to break that ice. You have to talk to people. People are there. They need your help. They need your guidance. And that's something I've become really passionate about. On the outside of engineering, it's I'd like taking someone from being, on the couch and not having done anything to, lifting. I don't really care how much they lift. If they're going to win the next competition, I'd like to see the progression of that person. And sure, if I can take that person to a competition and win with people, eventually that's my goal. But yeah, man, just trying to make a person better for me is something that I'm really passionate about. I'm trying to understand the psychological aspects behind it and getting them to. I mean, one thing I found with CrossFit, it's as much as it's a tough sport physically, like mentally, it's insane. You have to push your body beyond your mind. So trying to get that and teach that into other people it's really interesting. Yeah, I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I have tried CrossFit before, and it's funny what you're saying about pushing yourself. This is when I used to spend a lot of time with my friends who were in pro rugby. So when they were in the off season, they get like a month off to just recover from the year before, and I took one of them to CrossFit with me, and it was just mentally too hard for him. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, it just took too much. It just, as you say, you just got to grind it out. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's so many concepts just from CrossFit. I mean, it's a silly thing, like you do 4 reps and you have to touch the bar again, and your coach tells you get back on that bar in 5 seconds, and mentally you're like, no, but your body can do it. And I found so many places outside of CrossFit in engineering or day-to-day lives where that type of mentality, being able to train yourself mentally, say, no, I can do this, or going through a tough time, you're like, I can do this. Get my mind to push through, and you'll get through whatever. So yeah, for me it's been a very interesting journey on that side. But
I agree. Life skills, really. What teaches you life skills. So I think it's important for all kids to have at least a few years where they're hard into sports.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how about you, Antoine? What are your hobbies, man? What do you like to do?
Yeah, I mean, outside of 4-wheel stuff, I pretty much into 2-wheel stuff. So I am almost like doing a bit like Shaw. I'm doing a bit of coaching. So there's a kid from Bermuda. He's out here doing mini bike racing. Okay. So I've been helping him a little bit. Actually, it's pretty cool because I had started teaching this kid I literally took him from 4 years old and not even put his feet on the bike to now he's out here in England, living in Oxford actually,
Okay.
and doing mini bikes. So yeah,
Wow.
seeing the progression has been incredible, and he's on a good path, on a very good path. His parents are making the right moves, and so it's really cool to see, that like hopefully we'll stay involved with this kid and see how far he can go. So yeah, that's so two-wheel stuff has always been a passion of mine. I don't have a bike here yet. That's once I get a few more paychecks in, then maybe that'll happen. But in the meantime, it's just mostly honestly, there's not much outside of work right now, to be honest. It is pretty busy. I'm pretty sure you're in the same position, Shaw, where getting close to car build time, and so 11-hour days are standard. So it's not much else going on. I just moved houses, so my other spare time is spent with my missus going around to charity shops and doing that kind of shit. So it's it's good though. It's good. Yeah, I'm in a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I do really like bikes as well. I know I never got around to getting one, but it's on my long bucket list of stuff to do when I get similar to you, I guess, when I get some more time and some mental space free. I really want to get into bikes. Cool. So how about you, Jordan?
Outside of work, whenever I have time, I'll just go gym. And then when I want to relax, just normally just play a lot of video games. I'm not gonna lie, video games. And I play on the weekends. I play basketball with a basketball team called Banbury Thunder. And we train 2 times a week. That's pretty much it, to be fair. I've been doing that for 2 years now, since I graduated.
Okay.
Just basketball, gym.
What kind of games?
Sorry?
What kind of video games?
Right now it's just Call of Duty Warzone and FIFA. That's pretty much the 2 games I play. Don't really have much time as well, so it kind of sucks because I'm far behind and ranking up and unlocking new guns and stuff. But and I guess I listen to a lot of music as well, just music in general, because I get the train to work, so I'm always just got my headphones in and I'll just listen to all kinds of different music. But that's pretty much it for me, to be fair.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So I work from home mostly at the moment, and usually just while I work, I've just got some kind of music playing. But I've really found Spotify is really good for finding new music. Times of I don't know, you find a random song that you kind of have a vibe with, then you can click on Song Radio and it'll bring up loads of similar songs.
Okay.
I found so many new artists and even new genres. Have you guys heard of Amapiano?
Hey.
No.
Yeah, that's you, right? South Africa.
Hey. Yeah. I was gonna say, it's who's gonna bring up the house here? That's
my days.
That's some soul stuff, man. Makes you move, man.
South African house music. Amapiano, and it's one of those kind of sounds where you just cannot help but move.
Exactly.
Okay.
We call it music that makes a face move.
Oh man, it's really powerful music. Even in bed, I was playing a song in bed the other day, and I'm just moving and lying down in my bed. It's not a lot of music that can do that to me. So you guys check that out if you're into music.
I have to check that out. Yeah.
There's a few I think events in London that are coming up, and Amapiano does a few there. So. Oh
really?
Yeah. Actually, I met this other black guy through some friends at Mercedes.
Yeah.
And I saw him, and I'm we had a chat. He's like, "Oh, what music you into?" I'm like, "House." And he said to me, "What house?" And I'm like, as soon as someone asked me what house, and I'm like, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then we hooked up, and he's like, he knows the scope in London of where these events are at. So I was like, it's definitely something to check out. There's this community in London which is untapped.
Yeah, for sure. Next time, if you hear of anything going on in London, let me know, man. Because I was even saying to some friends the other day, we need to go to a dance with Amapiano.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm,
yeah.
I'm 33, yeah. So when there's not many places, like I've done the whole club thing. I spent
Yeah.
many nights in dead clubs with dead music, dead people. So when I go out, I want it to be for something.
Yeah.
So I'm down to go to Amapiano.
Now we'll do it. We'll hook it up.
Antoine, you were gonna say something?
I was gonna say I like a good rave too, so include me as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That'd be
Sam,
good.
we have to get Sam out
Mine
and
going
then
up.
we'll
Yeah,
all hit it up.
yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, I won't keep you guys much longer. It's Saturday evening. Last question I had was, what are the changes you want to see in the sport, in motorsport? Well, I guess before that, I'll tell you a bit more about what I do with my spare time. So I work a lot. So that kind of limits how much I can do. But I do capoeira. I don't know if you guys have heard much of capoeira.
Very mad.
That's like something I've done for the last few years. Best thing I've done, really. I really enjoy it. I kind of reached the point where like I'd spent so much time in sport when I was younger, doing rugby. I used to sprint as well, like 100 and 200 meters used to be my
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, really? Yeah, same. Yes.
yeah. I was gonna say that's what I did.
Yeah, okay, cool.
We're being very stereotypical now, guys.
Huh?
Black guys running fast, playing ring on rugby teams. Come on, guys.
Yeah. So when I kind of went through uni, you have less time for that, and then when you graduate, you kind of sometimes you even have less again. But I was like, I spend so much time learning, like mentally and like leveling up mentally, but it's a shame not to do that physically as well. So yeah, I started about 5 years ago. I started capoeira and gymnastics as well. So those are two of my favorite things to do. Then other things like painting, like I like to watercolor stuff every now and again when I have time. Yeah, that's
Okay.
kind of, those are my main interests outside of work. But yeah, the question, yeah. So what changes do you want to see in motorsport?
Well, from my perspective, I would say just kind of reaching out. Something I noticed, and it was actually part of the reason I switched schools, is at my last school, we had the job fair. That was like a really big thing throughout the school. Is we'd had our big career fair where you go in and you can speak to representatives from multiple companies. And I noticed, I mean, I believe there might have been Rolls-Royce and I want to say Ford, and there was a couple bikes. Like I think Kawasaki had a booth there, but there was no like motorsports themed booths. And we had, and I thought it was kind of odd because we had one of the more, I would say at least on the American side of things, top like Formula student teams. And I figured motorsports teams in America would be willing to be a lot more involved. So something I just want to look for is one, reaching out to in general, just in general. That's something I had noticed that they didn't do much of, but especially reaching out in every community. So like there's one of the things that Juan is actually doing, and I'm going to kind of work with him on that, is what he wants to do is get more people that of course look like us and himself, and he was going to sponsor not only engineers, so like he allows me to engineer for him, make parts, work on the team. I helped when we went out to a event in Colorado. I helped set up the car, I helped monitor and keep track of tire pressure, stuff like that. So I was getting some as close as possible to real life experience. But something he also wants to do is sponsor like drivers or people to get into the whole motorsport thing in general, whether they're a driver, just an enthusiast, if it's a media guy. But he wants people to like us. He wants to do as best as he can with his platform. So like I would like more teams other than just private teams like Juan to kind of have that same outlook where even if they're not offering full-time positions, they're just doing what they can to get people involved, even if it's one event at a time. That's something I would love to see.
Wicked. We could touch on that in a minute. I mean, we'll come back to it, but yeah. Anyone else, Jordan?
Yeah.
I would say it just needs to be a bit more, bit it's very, very difficult to even attempt to get into motorsport.
Yeah.
Either the best way possible is to just wait till a Formula One team or a high established racing team releases a graduate job position or just jobs, and then just apply and hopefully get invited to interview, and that's it. But besides that, it's really difficult to kind of delve your way into motorsport. It's either like what I'm doing now is either just trying to look at other engineers on LinkedIn and just message them and just ask if there's any work experience available, or I don't know, maybe an agency or something will contact me saying, oh, we like your CV for this position or something like that. But it should be a lot. I think the change should be is that it should be a little bit more easy just to try and get into, or just even apply. Besides the whole, just apply, hand your CV in, because when I had an interview with Mercedes a couple of years ago after I graduated, I got down to the final 12 at HPP in Brixworth, and they gave a presentation. The woman said that we got out of the 3,000 CVs, you're the final 12. So that's just, and it was just crazy. 3,000 CVs just for one position. It's just and I've been doing the same thing now for the past 2 years, and it's just not really getting me anywhere. So if there was like another way that's effective in trying to get a role in motorsport, yeah, that would be the best change for me, to be fair. Just easy to get into.
Okay. So, Shao, Antoine, you guys are already somewhat working your way into the motorsport. You've already got a foot in the door, I guess. But what are your, what would you like to see? What are your experiences? Or, what have you got to say about the future?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say I'm on the other side of this whole thing. I'm employed at HPP, waiting to find out if I'll be there permanently, and I've had 2 interviews already. But I've been through some interesting experience in this last year that I've been at HPP. When I moved to the UK and I did my undergrad, I actually spoke to one of my mates from South Africa, a good friend of mine, and I said to him, what's your advice? How do you get into F1? He's like, it's really tricky. There's these rumors that are going around, and I don't know if it's true, but it kind of you do get a sense of it. Certain teams only hire from certain universities, which are already, that sets it up. That I could have tried to apply to any F1 team from South Africa, which with an engineering degree, which I tell you, the university I went to was one of the top in South Africa, and in terms of the difficulty of that degree, it was amongst the top. I mean, we were given MIT papers, which we found weren't challenging at all. Not saying anything bad about MIT, just saying the standard is up there. But you don't get judged on that. You get judged on, there's a university in South Africa. We don't know it. You're not, Cranfield or Oxford Brookes or wherever. You are here, so you're not going to get in. And I've been lucky enough to fall on that path. To have a bit of advice here and there to guide myself. To where I am today, and getting to HPP. I'm not saying they don't look at Brookes, because I see a lot of people from Brookes at HPP, which is nice to see. Which is nice to see that they've kind of pushed past that bias. But I know for some of the other teams, it's a bit tougher. So that's one thing I think definitely needs to, this definitely needs to change. I guess you're up against some big people who have been doing things the same way for ages, so you're not going to change their minds, but I think there needs to be change there. The other thing is, like you said, Sam, or was it Jordan? Sorry, Jordan, you were saying, like, you get 3,000 people that apply for a job, and you must also put yourself in the shoes of a person from HR. You have 3,000 applications. How do you hone down, weed out the people that are good or not? And a lot of F1 teams have come to the point of setting up an automated software, a bot that will go through a CV. And I got told, I was at Brookes when I was doing some CV application work or courses. They said, these companies have bots that will go through a CV and pick up buzzwords. And, if your CV meets the criteria, then, it goes through, and then some actual person reads your CV and it's like, okay, I can read who this person is. I'll read his cover letter, and then they'd make a decision from there. Which I think, if you don't have the training of how to write a CV for Formula One, you're definitely not going to get a job in F1. And I was lucky enough to have done this course at Brooks, or just a CV attendance, have some information of how to apply to F1 team, and did a lot of work on trying to make my CV just appealing to get into F1. And I think limiting someone by being able to write a CV, sure, it's an important part of getting a job and getting into work, but I think that's not a true reflection of the person that you are and your capabilities. I mean, I know some bright South Africans, sure, they might not speak English that well, but give that kid an engineering problem and he can solve it, 10 times quicker than I could. Why isn't he here? And that's a change I'd like to see, amongst a lot of other things of trying to get people from, South Africa through visas and all these kind of things just to this country. It's just more understand this person and give them the opportunity, and don't limit them by a piece of paper, which they don't have any coaching on how to write because your bot is looking for a specific thing.
Yeah, no, that's every word of that, man. I hear it. For me, everything you guys have said is the change I want to see as well. I can see the timer running down again, so we haven't got too long. But one of the things that I'm working on at the moment, I think some of you may know, is this project with MFT, where we're trying to get as a team of Black management, engineering, and drivers, we want to get to Le Mans 24 hours. So I think 2023 is their 100th year. So that's a target for us to represent ourselves and compete at the higher level there. But in having that team, I've also got a lot of projects that I want to work on to kind of, I guess it's for the ages of say 12 to 25, 26 as a kind of rough age. So catching kids before they do GCSEs, which you guys all know what GCSEs are, the non-English guys.
I've learned recently,
so GCSEs, and then the undergraduates at uni, and then even recent postgraduates. Like, how can we help them of Black heritage, that is anyway, how can we help them to be more employable? How can we steer them and guide them to a career in motorsport? And one of the things I want to do with the team once we're racing is, as you were kind of saying, Samuel, is bring in a small group of people who have recently graduated or are on in some kind of engineering, not even engineering, we've got, like physiology or psychology,
exactly,
physiotherapy, like there's a whole range of professions that have a rightful place in motorsport. So giving them projects at university. So here's a 3D model of a GT car, suggest some aerodynamic improvements for your thesis, for your master's thesis or whatever, and then have that link with a professional motorsport team. Then obviously trackside experience, like come and get some real trackside experience that you can add to your CV. And then once you graduate or once you start applying for jobs, you can say, yes, I've got this experience with this team, so that can get you a bit more of a foot in the door. Like all these things that I want to do once we're racing. But it's as I was saying earlier, it's the hard part of finding someone to fund you, right? So I think we're pretty much wrapped up. You guys go enjoy your evenings. Appreciate you for joining in and getting involved in the conversation. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks a lot.
most definitely.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, enjoy. Hope you'll catch up with your friend. Is good, Antoine.
Will do. Take it easy, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, speak to you all soon.
Cheers.